Hello, my little gluten-free muffins. I'm Lizzie, and this is a challenging, fun yoga flow. So know that everything is modifiable, and you can go up a level, you can go down a level, whatever works for you. So come and join me on your mat. Hi, so as always, I recommend having a blanket or a towel, and of course you can always have blocks and use those in your practice as you like. So let's join in our centering. Come and sit. Feel the length of your spine and find some length in your breathing. Let's not expect this to be super easy or that we're just going to fall into this gorgeous calm, but instead, let's just make space for the possibility for that to happen. Shoulder blades releasing down the back. It's always nice to take a swallow to relax your throat and your jaw. Very tiny amount of drop in your chin if you tend to overlift. So if you're already kind of neutral in that neck, that's okay. If you have a tendency to lift, let's drop it down a little bit. Take a full inhale through your nose and a sigh out through your mouth. One more time, draw in what you need. Release what doesn't work. Nice. Bring your hands either palm on palm over your heart center or prayer pose, whichever one you choose, and connect into what it is that you want to open yourself towards for your practice. I always like to make it something attainable, sweetness, healing, breath, calm. Let it be simple. Let it be not that you want 500 things all at once today, just something simple. Inhale fully. Sigh that out. All right, so we're going to take an Om. You can either just listen to the Om or you can Om along. Inhale completely. Bow your head down, bring your hands to your legs, and then one cervical vertebra at a time, take the head over the shoulders, and give yourself a sigh. So take yourself side to side very slowly. If you're like me, you will snap and crackle and pop, and just open up through the lateral sides of the neck. You might move your jaw around. That might cause you to take a yawn, that's okay. And then we'll do chin down and head up, or chin down and head up and back. So I want you to choose the range of movement that feels best for you. You don't have to tip the head all the way back. And then come to center. Roll your shoulders back and down a few times. We're just trying to get blood flow and a little bit of stretch into these areas, maybe even a little bit of stress reduction. And you can go the opposite direction if you want, or if you're used to kind of being forward and hunching, you might just stay with external rotation. And bring your arms out to the side. Okay, so we're gonna take our thumbs, and you can even make like a little like you're gripping onto a basketball, and take your thumbs down and back, so internal rotation, and then take your thumbs up and back. And the sternum will lift on those. Exhale, the sternum might round down a little bit. And then as you rotate the thumbs back, lifting. Now you can begin to bring more of the spine into this as you round forward, and more of a back bend as you reach back. Or you can let this house more in the shoulders without bringing the spine so much into it. Let's join neutral spine, arms out to the side. Reach the arms up. And exhale, float the arms down. Roll the shoulders back and down. So I'm going to ask that you do most of the breathing for the rest of the class, unless I say to take a sigh out through the mouth, as much as you can through the nasal passages for the rest of class. So let's come to all fours, and you might want to pad your knees on this. The reason for breathing through the nasal passages, there's 1,000 reasons, but there's a filter in your nose that happens to help you, and it also humidifies the air as it goes into the lungs. So there's a couple of reasons to do that. So come into your all fours position, and let this be a communication with the ground. So as if like, whoa, it's been a while, I've kind of been floating above the ground here. Root down and just start to move your tabletop position a little more forward and a little more back, getting more access into the shoulders and into the hips. And attempt to keep the torso pretty stable rather than doing your kind of cat-cow in that movement. Toes can tuck under to get a little bit more of the toes and arches to open if that feels okay. Not a must. And then we're going to move into a downward facing dog. So toes are tucked, hips draw up and back. And we'll be really generous with the bend in our knees here to start. Let's bring more focus into the root of the palms and the length of the spine and breathing. You might be very, very bent in the knees here. That is perfect. It's still a downward facing dog. And then one knee bends and then the other with a little more reach through the Achilles tendons alternately and the heels. Waking up and preparing the back of the legs. Now pass into your first plank pose or knees down plank. Understand that knees down plank is still a lot of work and you don't have to come into full plank. And now we'll begin to move this forward and back. You can do it on the knees, but it's a really almost like a ½ inch movement. It'll probably wake up your core more. Or you can do it with a little more movement in your classic plank. Now let's hold steady, take a deep breath in. Exhale to our downward facing dogs again. Turn your heels in. I have about 5 inches between my heels. Choose what feels good. Press your heart back. Open up the chest like you're doing a baby cobra in the upper back. Press the outer sides of the feet towards the earth, even if they're not touching. Breathe here. Open your IT areas and all the surrounding areas. And then toes in, slightly pigeon-toed here. We're rotating the femurs in the pelvis. Turn the toes forward and lower the knees down. The reason why I didn't say opening your IT band is because there's a lot of science that it's really nearly impossible to actually stretch the IT band, but not impossible to stretch the surrounding areas around the IT band, which benefit the IT band. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is get a little bit more into the hips and hamstrings. If you want to use some height under your hands, you can feel free to put blocks there, or you can come to your fingertips, whatever works for you. Step 1 foot forward, doesn't matter which one, and draw yourself into a lunge, opening up the front of your back hip. Breathing here. And then we'll shift back into our half Hanumanasana. Spread your toes, open up through the back of the legs. And my favorite, if you practice with me, or especially if you used to take my live classes, love to add this sway because we have 3 hamstrings on the back of each leg, and this helps get into all of them. Sole of the foot down, hands down, lift your back knee, come into that second held plank, or this might be the third, I don't know, I might be lying. Breathe here. Exhale to downward facing dog. Turn your heels in again, press your heart back. Root into your palms, even your fingertips with a gentle pressure. Turn your toes in, slightly pigeon-toed. This movement is coming from the hip socket, not the knees. Turn the toes forward and lower the knees. Whichever foot you did not step forward last time, step it forward. Blocks or no blocks. Scoot that back knee far enough back that you feel a stretch across the front of the back leg, but you're not feeling like you're in a split and you're holding your breath. We don't want that. I like to keep my back toes tucked to help stabilize my kneecap because I'm actually working my shin muscle to help do that, but you can actually have the top of the foot down if that feels better. Inhale here. Exhale, shift back into that half Hanumanasana. Spread your toes. It doesn't have to look pretty, but it can feel pretty, right? Where you're getting space where you might not usually put it. And then we'll do our little dog hip wag, wagging our tail slowly back and forth. Even if we're not totally excited about this hamstring stretch, it's like fake it till you make it, right? Sway your hips a little side to side. Sole of that foot down, palms down, lift the back knee, plank pose. Now from here, we're gonna bring one knee in and circle it underneath. If you're on all fours, that's still doable, circle it underneath. Draw a slow, steady circle and then go in the opposite direction, drawing the organs towards the spine. Step back and then lift the other knee, whether you're on all fours or in that plank position, drawing yourself into a circle. I'm finding one hip is a lot easier than the other. Our hips are not the same on each side. Downward facing dog with a big inhale here and a sigh. We're going to do that again, and I want you to really use that sigh to release any gripping where you don't need gripping. Inhale. And lower to the knees. And shake the arms out. We'll move our towels or blankets off to the side and come into the downward facing dog, which is going to bring us into a forward fold. So walk your feet forward to the top of your mat, separate your feet about hips distance apart, and give yourself a little swish and a sway. Wake up your intention. Bring your belly onto your thighs as you hinge the hips back. Draw your organs actively away from the thighs. Reach your arms forward to the sides or back. Press into the floor and slowly, so use your transitions to get stronger. Be mindful of the transitions to reach up into standing, open any amount at the top with the arms, and exhale, hands through to the heart. Take a deep breath in and shake off your clutter. Going to bring the heart rate up a little bit more and an element of balance. So step your right toes back, left leg is forward, arms reach forward. You're going to grab some air here. Now either you're going to bring the elbows in and back like this and step the toes in, or you can bring the knee up. So maybe start elbows in and tap back and to the foot, or tap back, knee up. Choose which works for you. Your standing leg is going to bend on the reach back of the right toes. You can use an inhale to reach and an exhale forward if you want, or you can just choose the breath that feels most balancing to you. 2 more times. Last one. Now, if your heel is down, you can stay with that and twist towards that leg. Arms can reach or hands where you want them. If the knee is lifted, left hand to the right knee, right hand to the right waist, twisting to the right. Maybe reach the arms or one arm. Choose what works. Inhale, center, reach up. Exhale, float the arms down, put the foot down. Inhale, reach forward or to the sides. Exhale, fold. First vinyasa or skip this. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, step or hop back. Heels rock forward. Chaturanga, or maybe you're coming all the way to the floor with this. Cobra, which would be more in the upper back, or upward dog, bringing a little more spine, hips lift, tops of the feet down, hands down. And then derive the support from your deep core all the way back to downward dog. Or if you were in Cobra, you can push back into a child's pose or a downward dog or a little bit of both. Breathing thoroughly. If you're newer to Vinyasa, I would recommend trying some of my more gentle videos and watching my Chaturanga video in the tutorial section. From here, look forward, take your feet to the top of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Maybe bend the knees there. Inhale, come all the way to stand. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. All right, we're gonna step back with the left foot, reach forward. Just start to come into that more central line with just your tap of the toes, heel lifted. If you're ready, knee lifts. Reach back, bending the right knee, coming up and pulling the hands back. Reach and draw in. If at any time you want to slow this action down, that's actually going to be really nice for cultivating balance. The pace that I go at doesn't have to be your same pace. This is absolutely your time. Choose what you need. 2 more. Last one. All right, either heel lifts and twist towards that left leg, or you can take opposite hand to opposite knee, holding the waist or reaching back, maybe both arms reach. And then from here, reaching up, lowering the foot down. Take an inhale and exhale, fold. This time you're gonna go right back into your plank pose and move into a right side plank. Okay, so I'm actually not gonna mirror you guys here on this one. We're both in right. I'll look left, you put your right hand down. You can either stagger your top foot forward and your lower leg back, or you can come to stacked for a little bit more work. If you want to add some movement, you can take the pelvis up and down. As you reach the hips down, hand towards feet. As you reach the hips up, hand behind the head, or reaching away from the feet. Or stay here and hold, maybe lower your bottom knee down. Come into your plank pose. I was waiting for you. Downward facing dog, recalculate the breath. Recalibrate a little more positivity through the body, find your intention. We're going directly to the other side plank. So again, you can stagger, top foot forward, lower leg back, or stack, or lower knee down. If you're adding the movement, this will get a little bit more into the upper body, into the obliques, and into the entire core, like the entire torso really, which is the entire core. Up and down. That is a lot of work, so take a break as needed. And then I'll wait and come back into that plank. Let's come into child's pose. Pick your favorite knee position for child's pose, and know that you can come into more of a passive seat here without coming all the way down. So you can come to your forearms and roll the wrists if you like, shake the hands out, and come into your breathing. Release something, some amount of overwork or overthinking down onto the earth. Let it go. And we'll come onto our forearms here, knees underneath the hips, and we'll do our cat-cows here, rounding. And then on an inhalation, reaching the heart up and the hips a bit. Don't overcollapse that lumbar if it doesn't feel good. Rounding, opening that middle back, and up. Opening the shoulders. One more time, round, and all the way up. Neutralize, come into your plank, supported by the organs drawing back. You can stay with the forearms parallel, or you can interlace. If you want to add that movement of the heels forward and back, you absolutely can. If you want to lift one leg up, maybe a couple inches off the ground, you absolutely can, but make sure you switch sides. Find the level that actually works for you, not the one that makes you feel like you've done too much and it's not sustainable. And then from here, you can press back into your dolphin. I don't teach this often, and I only usually do it in classes that I call advanced. So skip this if it's too much and go to a classic downward dog. Or stay here, shoulder blades onto the back, walk the feet in, activate your quads, breathe here. If you want more, you'll lift one leg up, press through the ball joints of the feet, and then other side if you lifted the first side. Remember that every pose in all of these flows is skippable if it doesn't work for you. Walk back into your full forearm plank. Lower the knees, child's pose again. Roll out through those wrists and give more energy and focus to the breath. Malasana. So if you like in your Malasanas to sit on a block or blocks, you will actually place that block underneath you. So knees and toes, you can come into this however you want, even from standing. Knees and toes point in the same direction. You're finding a block or two underneath you, or the hips are down. If the heels are lifted, you might want to roll a blanket under the heels so you can actually put some weight into the heels, and breathe here. So even though I can go into that full posture, it just feels good for me today to have some support. So I'm going to put that support underneath my hips. Deep inhale through the nose. Sigh out. Now for more work, you can reach your arms forward. This will bring back and shoulders into the mix, and of course core a little bit more. Or you can begin to lift the arms any amount to really get that back body firing up. If that's too much and you lost the breath, then reduce the amount of reach. Inhale. Exhale, fingertips down. Inhale, lift the hips. Turn the toes forward. Exhale and do your little swish and sway. Again, so we're much more warmed up now. I'm gonna move my props out of the way. Go ahead and move your blanket out of the way as well. And now we'll get into a little bit more, now that the body's a little more opened up and mobile. Come up to the top of your mat, please. And lift one knee, hug it in. And place it down, lift the other knee, hug it in. And place it down. Lift the first knee, and then we'll begin to lead with that knee as it reaches back, reach the arms forward for balance, and we'll come into a high lunge here. Inhale, exhale, float the arms down to the sides, bend the back knee. Inhale, reach up, pick the arms up. Exhale, bend that back knee. Inhale, reach up, opening those hip flexors again. Exhale, bending. Inhale, reach all the way up. Now straighten the front leg and exhale. You can bring your hands to your heart, to the waist, interlace behind you if you want, or just reaching. So your back heel is lifted for more of a balance. If you want a little more stability, you're going to seal the back heel down slightly in and your back toes slightly out to the side. Breathing here in your Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Hands can be down, blocks, shin. Again, you have all sorts of options for the arms. We'll transition this back into a high lunge. So step your back foot a little further back, heel lifts, bend the front knee, reach up. And then warrior three, hands to the heart. Fingertips might come down to the floor for a lift, or as you straighten your lower leg, let your already straight and strong back leg reach up, or you can draw in and bloom out. Turn your pelvis, the front of your hips to face the earth. Breathe here, arms where you want them. Maybe you're back to an interlaced. Cross the back leg behind you and over to the side of your standing foot. And take a fold back into those sweet, sweet hamstring stretches. Bend the knees any amount or use blocks under the hands. We're going to come back through a vinyasa. If you like to hop back and uncross the legs in the air, you can do that, but only if you're not new to it. Chaturanga, back bend of choice, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Luxuriate in your breath here. You've already lived those previous moves on that other side. So be in the now. That's really all that exists. There isn't any future. Not yet. It hasn't been written. Be right now. Look to the top of the mat. Step or hop there. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Choose how you want to rise, and inhale, come up. I don't do as many hops in these videos. Exhale, in order to keep my heart rate a little down, and also because it usually shakes the camera. All right, so we'll do another lift of both knees. Hug it in, place it down. Hug in, place it down, just making sure we do both sides. Okay, so whichever side you didn't step back with, probably your left, that knee is gonna come up. Now we're gonna bend the standing leg, reach forward to counterbalance that left leg coming back, and we'll come into our high lunge. You're separating your feet enough to feel balanced. And then inhale here, exhale, bend the back knee, float the arms down. Inhale, reach. Exhale, down. Your front leg can straighten all the way or it can stay bent. It's really up to you. All right, now from here, we'll drop it down one more time with the back knee. Come all the way up, straighten the front leg, and then whatever you want with the hands and whatever you want with that back foot, whether the heel is lifted for more of a balance element or not, Fingertips could come down, forward, sides, back, or interlaced. You might interlace the opposite finger on top. It's gonna make you feel a little cranky because it's gonna feel abnormal, like when someone holds your hand and you're like, that's the wrong way. But it's good to change that up. Breathing here. And then we'll move, bending that front knee into our warrior three. Either fingertips come down, forward, sides, or back. Front of your hips, rotating, face the floor. And arms, again, right where you need them to be, even on a block. Cross the back leg down to the floor to the outside of your lower foot. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold any amount. Knees might be bent here. And then, of course, with that hop back, you can uncross here and walk back. Or if that's something you practice, you can move right through into your vinyasa. My vinyasas are feeling clumsy today. And you know, some days are like that. I'm so happy I'm getting it on video for you guys. All right, deep breath in and sigh out. Look forward, step or hop your feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. This time, bend the knees, reach your arms back, shoulder blades onto the back, baby cobra in the upper back, lift your organs towards the spine, possibility of lifting the heels here. Love working the arches of the feet, the toes, the ankles, the calves. Lower the heels, inhale, exhale, almost touch the fingertips down and let an inhale slowly take you all the way up. Let the exhale draw your elbows back, open your chest. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hips, belly comes to the thighs, arms back. Inhale this time all the way up. Exhale, elbows draw back, open the chest, work the back body. One more time, inhale, reach. Exhale, bend the knees, take the arms back. Full breath in as you rise all the way up, reach up. Exhale, elbows draw back. Pivot wide on your mat with your feet, wider than the hips. Hands are either gonna come to the waist or we'll work that interlacing again. Shoulders roll onto the back, heart lifts. Exhale, fold. A lot of hamstring stuff today, also a fair amount of shoulder stuff. You add on what you need, you delete off what you don't need. Breathing here. Release the bind if you have that, fingertips to the floor. Bend your knees. Now I'm going to ask you to take the feet a little closer together and bend the knees forward, and your knees and toes are pointed forward. Breathe here and add a little lift and a lower, very small range of movement, working into those hips. Now we're going to go a little more externally rotated by taking the toes and the knees in the same direction and adding that little lift and lower. You'll probably notice that it's a little easier to move in that range. Good. And then go back into your fold, hands down. You're going to pick one side and move into that side, bending your knee. Fingertips can stay down. You're going to open the inseam of the extended leg. Either stay here or come up to the thigh. And you can choose to take prayer pose. You can even use your hands to come with the elbow on the inside or outside of that knee and take your twist here. You can either just stay here. You can even twist with one hand down on the inside of the arch, the other arm up. A lot of work in the legs, adding that twist. Inhale and exhale back into your fold. Breathe. Then go to the other side, bend the knee. Breathe here. Maybe come up. Maybe add a twist. Maybe the hands are down and one hand down, one arm up. Shoulder blades onto the back, active in the extended leg. Inhale and exhale, unwind back to center. Now from here, we'll heel toe in, or you can hop in if you'd like. Bend the knees round the spine, head and arms are gonna dangle, and roll slowly up into standing. Find Samastitihi or mountain pose. Steady and even. Swallow, relax your throat, relax your jaw. All right, a little more into the hips. So we're gonna stay facing the long edge of our mat. Bend one knee and take the other leg back diagonally. Step forward, other side. So you're gonna move side to side, and as you do, you might add a reach. This is great for working the legs and also great for the hips and flexibility. You're getting a lot of things here, and you're taking a movement. This stepping back diagonally is not a movement that the brain is used to, so really, really good for building some new neural pathways. Okay, and then from here, you're gonna stay there, reach, or put your opposite hand, whichever leg you have forward. I have my right foot forward, so I'm gonna put my left fingertips down and twist here. This is huge for the stretch in those surrounding IT band areas, working into the glutes, breathing here. This might not be one that you're used to doing. It's kind of an odd shape, really gets into the hips. Very careful to come back up. A lot of strength there. If that back leg is far from you, you might hop it in a little bit before you step forward. Shake that on out. All right, we'll go to the other side. Reaching back, you can stay right here. You can even reach the arms out. If you want, if your left leg is forward, your right fingertips would be down, left arm up, breathing here. You can move your hips up and down in space to kind of find, what's the best height for my stretch? Activate through your extended leg. Shoulder blades onto the back. Very careful to come up, take your back foot a little closer in, protect that standing leg's knee, and then step up. We're back in our mountain pose. Take yourself to what is not the top of your mat, because you've now decreed it to the back of your mat, and come into it, and now it's your new top of your mat, right? So we like to wipe the slate clean and be open to change. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. And take the vinyasa of your choice, or stay in the fold or down dog or child's pose. I like to add changes on the mat, because it is true, if you get used to a lot of change on your mat, it's easier to work with the change that happens in your life. You're just like, oh, okay, yeah, of course there's gonna be change. Inhale, sigh out. From here, optional, and I would like to take my feet wider for this, optional taps of my hands back to the ankles, to the knees, to the outer calves, whatever works for you. And you can stay more in a downward dog shape for this, or you can come in and out of more of a wider footed plank for this. What tickles your fancy today? That's what you're gonna choose. What do you need more of? What's gonna give you that element of strength, opening, stability, while still breathing? One more time each side. And then child's pose. Let this be a really releasing child's pose, where you're like, okay, I had to stabilize before, but now I have this gorgeous earth holding me up. Breathe through the nasal passages, relax all the little muscle fibers around the eyes. Sometimes we get overly focused and we kind of crunch up there. I know from my crow's feet, I do that more than I need to. And we're gonna bring ourselves back to a side plank. The last side plank, what we've done so far, this is the prep. We did a side plank on our hands. We did forearm plank forward classically. And now we're gonna bring this into a side forearm with some optional things to change if you want to. You don't have to. Remember, we're still using the old back of our mat as the new front of our mat. And if you would like, I'd love to just roll that over. There's so much dog hair there. I tried to vacuum it off. It loves this mat. It's not coming off. Okay, so whichever side you want, you'll take your forearm down with maybe that padding of your mat. Same thing as before. Stacked is going to be a little tougher. Staggered, top leg forward, a little bit easier to balance upon, but you would take your L-shaped ankles in both of them. Then from here, you can even use your top fingertips to help you lift up and breathe here. Now this is where I want you to play with whatever you want to do. You can do taps with the legs straight. You can do taps with the knee bent up to the ceiling. This time, rather than our last time where our pelvis was moving up and down, try to keep your pelvis more steady. You can do a top leg circle. You can do bends. You can press. Whatever works. Find a challenge. Find something new and thrill yourself with your ability to do something different. And then collapse into heap. No. And then come down to laying on your side. Same side. And breathe. I like to bend my knees, relax them. Let the organs move along the breath. And then from here, interlace the fingers behind the head. Knees are bent. And we're going to lift the ankles and the feet as we lift into a bit of a side body work here, up and down. If you need to put a thin layer of blanket under your lower hip, feel free to do that if this is a little too much pressure for that lower hip. Lifting the ankles, trying to maybe almost look at them, or at least in that direction, up and down, getting those obliques, getting the lats. All right, one more time, and hold. 3, 2, 1. Come on down and go to sleep. No, just rest. And guess what? We're gonna do a vinyasa in between or a child's pose, and then we'll do it on the other side. You're doing beautifully. I know you are. If you're here this long, then my hat is off to you. Starting from downward dog. Again, we recalibrate, reboot, and refocus. If you're ready, a vinyasa comes in. Vinyasas are completely not necessary. You can do all the yoga in the world and never do a vinyasa, and you're still getting all the benefit of yoga. And then nothing fancy here. I'm just going to go to my other side. So adding that fold over of your mat, stacking or staggering, other top arm forward so it can help you kind of lift and see where you feel comfortable. Comfortable is not the right word, where you feel steady. And then play. Remember, we could do taps with long legs, tap with top knee bent, circles, bends, pushes, forward, but you're trying not to move that lower hip up and down. Lower knee can always come down at any point, and you could do the work here. Ooh, hopefully we'll feel these tomorrow and we'll say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I did that. And lower down, bend the knees, unfurl the mat, and squeak, and come on down. This floor is so noisy for my feet. Sometimes I have to remind people, that was my feet. Okay, interlace the fingers, sideways lift. The knees are trying to stay together, as are the inner feet, as you lift the ankles and feet and shins and work that side body. You can even touch that side body and feel that contraction as you lift, and even through your lats, even around the backside of the shoulder blade, up and down. Technically, this is not, traditional yoga, but I love to add all different modalities of movement and strengthening, so we get a little more bang for our buck, and we work ourselves out of just habitual patterning, habitual movement. This last one is going to hold. Come on down, rest for a moment. This time we're going to turn on to our bellies and let your glutes release. Maybe make a pillow with your forearms. Breathe here. Sway the hips a little side to side. Bend the knees and move the ankles a little side to side. Bring your arms out into a V position. So the fingers are spread gently wide, and now take your feet out in roughly the same amount of opening. Now move your hands in a little bit more, maybe 2 to 3 inches, and help that lift your torso up. So we're working our posterior chain quite a bit, and now we're gonna add some asymmetrical lifts. So right hand lifts, left foot lifts, and down. Left hand lifts, right leg lifts, and down. Again, this is one that you could put some blanket underneath you at a thin layer. Make sure that it's not just the pelvis. You're going back and forth here. Make sure it's not the pelvis that's only lifted, because you will pitch the chest forward too much. And you want to feel balanced across the torso, that the rib cage and the pelvis are on the same height. All right, one more time each side. This is so amazing for your back and shoulders and brain and hamstrings and glutes. Okay, now from here, I am going to put my blanket underneath that whole area of the rib cage and pelvis. So I'm actually gonna put it this way, so more of my body is on that. Please feel free to do that. And now bend the knees and maybe reach back for the ankles. I'm gonna drive my thighs down and open up the chest here. Again, we were working that shoulder opening earlier to help prepare, which is when we were here. But we haven't done a lot of quad stuff, so let's not lift the knees yet unless that feels great. Driving the thighs down, pressing the ankles away, breathing here. Optional, just reach or reach here without bending the knees. 3, 2, 1. And exhale, come on down for your rest. Sway those hips. Remove your prop from underneath you. And we'll move into a rabbit pose. If you have any neck issues, I would offer that you choose some other pose that feels really good for you and not like you're putting pressure on the neck if that's not good for you. With this version of rabbit pose, you are putting a lot of weight in your hands, so that's good, but I want you to be careful. Toes tuck, fingertips down on the floor. A lot of people, they put their elbows down. Please do not. Elbows lift. Forehead comes down, maybe about 10 inches to a foot in front of the knees, maybe a little closer. And you're going to roll towards the back of the head gently and roll the hips down. As the hips raise up, you'll roll more to the back of the head. As the hips lower, more to the front of the head. Your weight is also in your fingertips here. And then maybe trace a circle, a big circle on your head. That's not this. I'm not twisting. There's not a twist. I'm not screwing in a light bulb with my head. I have a halo on, just like all of you, and I'm tracing that halo. If you feel like you are overworking in your thinking, this is a great way to reduce stress around the skull. Rising up and then bringing the legs through. If you know hop throughs and all that, you can add all those things into my class. I just won't always say them just because we have so many different levels coming to class. Add on what you see fit. Lean back and shake it all out. All right. So from here, you're going to pass an invisible orb underneath your leg, one leg. You're just going to pass that underneath and sit up nice and tall while you do that. And then you're going to lift the other leg and you're going to pass that orb underneath, maybe both directions. And now from here, you're going to see if you can pass that as you move one knee in, passes underneath, other knee in, passes underneath. If you need an actual physical something or other, you can use a block or a pair of socks or something like that. So we're really just passing under every time, under the back of the thigh. 3, 2, 1, and ta-da, you're done with that. Come on to your back body. And let's straighten the legs and put the legs on the ground. The reason for that is we just did a lot of hip flexor work, and I want those hip flexors to release. Reach your arms behind you, wiggle, wiggle it open. And then roll the ankles, roll the wrists. Bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet down. Do a few tilts and tucks. So you're gonna tilt the tailbone up and towards you and down. Up and towards you, bringing the lumbar down, and then away, bringing the lumbar up. One more time, and back. Now bring the lumbar down, lift your pelvis up. You might shimmy the shoulder blades a little closer underneath you. And if you want to go into more restorative, you can place a block or a bolster or pillow underneath you and put your weight onto that. No need to stay really high here. If you want more of an advanced practice, you'll walk one leg in and bend the other knee up. Kind of like when we were passing underneath, but we're not passing. If you want more work, you'll begin to press through the ball joints of that extended leg, breathing here, lifting the hips. And then lower back down, walk that foot in a little more. Maybe lift the other knee. Maybe find extension, pressing through the ball joints. Lifting those hips. Keep breathing. This is really tough. And all the way back down, pelvis equally lifted on both sides. For more calf work, up and down with the heels, you can either alternate and the pelvis will ever so slightly wobble in a controlled fashion side to side, or up and down. You'll probably notice, like me, that there's a little trembling with that. That's totally normal and fine. If that bothers your knees, please do not do it. 3, 2, 1. Lift the hips and then exhale. Come on down, bring your knees in, rock side to side. Either cross one knee in front of the other and hug the knees in more like Gomukhasana, maybe grasping whatever you can reach, or the outer sides of the feet or the ankles. Or do your 4 shape, crossing the outer ankle to the top of the knee, hand through the little triangle in the middle and reaching around in front or behind the knee that's away from you. For me, I'm finding that this stretch is a little better, the Gomukhasana, for my hips right now. I love adding a little bit of side to side slow movement to get into areas that we didn't know maybe needed our breath or our stretch. Let's switch side. Whichever one you did on the first side, recreate it on the second side. And no expectation that it will look the same or feel the same because we are asymmetrical beings. But give way to your breath. Just clear a space, clear a passage for your breathing and for positive change. So being stuck in negative thinking and criticism of your body never brought anyone anything good. Just think about those things. Did that ever help anyone? No, it didn't. So let's not. Hug the knees in. And we'll set ourselves up for Shavasana now, or final favorite twist. I love to take one knee bent, cross it to the other side. The other arm away from my knee, I take that up and back with the palm up. You can put it really wherever you want to feel that pectoral stretch. If you don't want the twist now, you'll go directly into your final relaxation pose. This is also the time where if there's any other little movements, adjustments that you need to make that I'm not saying, maybe you need to kind of kick the legs out, shake out the limbs, whatever it is. Maybe there's a groin stretch that's needed, like happy baby variation. Add those in. It doesn't even have to be something you've seen in a yoga class. It can just be something that you know your body likes. Add those in. And then set up for final relaxation pose, either laying down on your back, you might even put a blanket underneath your knees, or coming into a seated meditation. Please know that you can meditate on your back. You do not have to be seated. But I'm going to bring us a little bit of breath focus. And you can choose to follow along with me on that, or just drift into your own practice of release. Take a moment and find the necessary shape that your body needs to make. We'll swallow and relax the throat and the jaw. Let the muscles of the face Get rid of any over clenching. And let the heart move freely on the breath. Let's give some love to our nervous system. So yoga can be wonderful for the nervous system, but even when we bring in these new shapes or maybe areas of tension, we can kind of stress us out. So we want to make sure through our yoga practice that we're coming back to home base of breath and of internal support. So find that now. Shapes will come and go. Breath and internal support, we want to keep that really consistent. So I'll take you into one of my favorite breathing practices where we're not going to do anything with our hands. So it's just Samavriti, but we're going to add the visual of color. So choose a color that you feel represents healing and health. Whether you're laying down or seated, doesn't matter. Connect with your breathing. Trust that this matters. This time you're giving yourself matters. The more we can take care of ourselves internally and stay out of that fight or flight, the more we will trust ourselves, trust our guts, and our reactions. Once you have your color, imagine breathing that color in and letting it surround and fill your body. Exhale, you can breathe that color out. It's going to change. First, we're just drawing it all the way in, painting our insides and even past our skin. Exhale, the color gently goes out. One more time, filling up. And releasing. So you can stay with that. Or as you inhale, you can fill up with that color. And as you exhale, you can exhale clear and stay that color. Inhale your color of healing. Exhale, clear air out, stay the beautiful healing color. And now continue as you like. Feeding every cell of your body with health, rejuvenation, clarity, and love. And we'll start to take our breathing in a little more natural pace, releasing the control as much as is possible. Add any movement that just feels natural and necessary. Let it be gentle. You might go back to opening the neck if you're seated, like we started class. If you're laying down, you might take some stretching. Maybe that jaw needs to move around. And we'll take ourselves to seated if you're not already. And once again, either palms facing down over the heart or hands in Anjali Mudra, palms together. Sitting tall with our internal support, with our breath, and with our healing May we commit to ourselves more fully on a daily basis. And when we don't commit to ourselves, may we recognize that and gently and lovingly come back to the commitment. Rather than beating ourselves up for the lack of it, just lovingly come back. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.